I want you to imagine something for a second. Think back to a time, maybe recently, when you just totally lost your cool over something entirely minor.
Oh, we have all been there.
Right. I mean, I'm talking about burning dinner or, spilling a few drops of hot coffee on your shirt or maybe opening a slightly passive-aggressive email from a coworker.
That email is a classic trigger, yeah.
Yeah. And suddenly your heart starts pounding against your ribs, your chest gets tight, maybe your hands even start shaking a little bit.
It's intense.
It is. So why does your body react to a minor, everyday annoyance like that? As if a literal hungry lion just walked into the room.
It's a completely disproportionate response, isn't it? I mean, your conscious mind knows you are just staring at an annoying email.
Right, it's just text on a screen.
Exactly. But your physiological state is actively preparing you for a life or death battle on the savannah. And it is incredibly frustrating because you feel like you are being hijacked by your own biology.
Well, when you feel hijacked like that, it is not a character flaw. It's really just a biological misfire. So today, we are doing a deep dive into Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's groundbreaking book, The Body Keeps the Score.
Such an incredible resource.
Truly. And we are zeroing in specifically on Chapter 5 today to explore the body-brain connection. We're going to decode your brain's internal alarm system using really simple, actionable language.
Stripping away all the dense medical jargon, right?
Exactly. So that you, listening right now, can understand how to actually hack your own nervous system for better emotional control.
Which is just such a vital skill for anyone to develop. Because whether you are dealing with deep-seated chronic stress or you're just trying to navigate a highly frustrating workday without losing your mind, you need this.
Yeah, just trying to get through a Tuesday.
Right. Understanding exactly how your body processes a threat is really the ultimate shortcut to regaining control. You can't fix a machine if you don't know how its engine works,
That makes total sense. So to understand why we overreact to stress, we first have to look at how the brain processes normal, everyday experiences.
Right, the baseline.
And the source material uses this brilliant, highly accessible set of metaphors for the brain's processing center. We've got the cook, the smoke detector, and the watchtower.
I love these metaphors.
They're so good. Let's start with the cook. What exactly is going on in the brain's kitchen?
Okay, so all sensory information from the outside world, what you see, hear, smell, the physical sensations on your skin, it all enters the brain and goes straight to a central relay station called the thalamus.
Oh.
And van der Kolk calls the thalamus the cook. The cook's job is to take all these raw, chaotic ingredients and stir them together into a fully blended, coherent, autobiographical soup.
Autobiographical soup. I like that.
Yeah, it creates this cohesive linear timeline that tells a story. Basically, it says, this is what is happening to me right now in this exact moment, and here's how I fit into it.
So it makes sense of the chaos.
Yeah.
Because without it, I guess the world would just be a blinding mess of colors and loud noises.
Exactly. It would be entirely overwhelming.
So the cook is basically the narrator in my head telling me I am sitting in a comfortable chair, I'm holding a warm cup of coffee, and I'm having a conversation.
Yes. That narrative function is crucial for keeping us grounded in reality. Now, once the cook has made this soup, it needs to serve it up, right?
Right. Where does it go?
It sends it out along two very different neurological paths. First, it sends it down a lightning-fast, unconscious, low road to the amygdala.
And the amygdala is our smoke detector.
Exactly. The amygdala is the smoke detector. It lies deep in the primitive emotional part of the brain. And its only job, literally its sole purpose for existing, is to sense threat.
Wow. Just constantly on the lookout.
Constantly. If the smoke detector detects danger in that sensory soup, it instantly floods the body with stress hormones.
Like adrenaline and cortisol.
You got it. It prepares you for fight or flight, entirely outside of your conscious control.
So it's the instant alarm. But you mentioned a second pass for the soup. Where else does it go?
Right. So at the exact same time, the cook sends that information up a slightly slower high road to the medial prefrontal cortex.
Okay, and this is the watchtower.
This is the watchtower. It's the rational, conscious, evaluating part of your brain. It looks out over the landscape, notices the alarm that the smoke detector just triggered, and takes a critical second to evaluate.
To see if the threat is actually real or not.
Exactly.
Let me see if I have this right. It's like making toast in your kitchen.
Okay, let's hear it.
You leave the bread in a little too long, and a few wisps of smoke hit the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
And the literal smoke detector in your hallway starts shrieking because, well, there's smoke.
Right, that's its only job. It's totally binary.
Right. But your watchtower is the person who walks out of the bedroom, looks at the toaster, and says, calm down, everybody. It's just burnt sourdough. We don't need to evacuate the building.
Yes.
And then they just wave a towel, sound the alarm, and shut it off.
That is the perfect visualization of a healthy, functioning brain. The emotional brain sounds the alarm to keep you safe, but the rational brain quickly steps in, assesses the context, and restores biological balance.
Before you do something drastic like calling 911 over toast.
Exactly.
But if that is how a healthy brain works, what happens to this dynamic when someone experiences severe stress or, an overwhelming trauma? Why does the system fail?
Well, under extreme stress, the sheer bandwidth of the sensory information just overloads the system. The flood of adrenaline and cortisol is so intense that the thalamus, the cook, physically cannot process the data fast enough.
Oh, wow. So what does the cook do?
The cook literally drops the pot. The autobiographical soup just doesn't get made. The thalamus fails to integrate the raw sensory data into a cohesive story with a beginning, middle, and end.
Wait, so what happens to all those raw ingredients? Where do they go if they aren't turned into a story?
They are stored in the brain as isolated, terrifying fragments. Like an image of an angry face, or a specific smell, a loud sound, maybe a sudden physical sensation of tightness in the chest.
Oh, I see.
And because there is no cohesive story placing these events in the past, the smoke detector gets stuck on overdrive.
Because it doesn't know the event is over.
Exactly. It becomes hypersensitive, constantly blaring at the slightest everyday trigger that even remotely resembles those raw fragments.
That sounds exhausting.
It is.
Oh.
And the most dangerous part, the watchtower goes completely offline. The medial prefrontal cortex simply shuts down in the face of that much raw emotion.
So you are left trapped in this state of intense physical panic without any rational explanation for why you feel that way.
Yes. You don't remember a story, you just feel the raw panic of the past in the present moment.
Which is why people suffering from traumatic stress or even just chronic burnout often feel like they are literally losing their mind.
Exactly. Their conscious mind might vaguely know they are sitting safely in an office, but their physical body is reacting as if they are actively being hunted.
Okay, so if the rational brain is completely unplugged during a panic state, that leaves us in a pretty terrifying predicament.
It really does.
I mean, how do we actually fix an alarm system if we can't even access the control room?
That is the big question.
But the source material gives us two distinct, actionable routes to hack the nervous system here, right?
Yeah.
Top-down regulation and bottom-up regulation.
Let's look at top-down regulation first. This approach is about engaging the conscious mind to calm the body.
Okay.
It means actively working to strengthen the watchtower's capacity to monitor the body's sensations without getting swept away by them.
How do you do that?
You do this through practices like mindfulness meditation or yoga. It is the active practice of learning to observe what is going on inside you without judgment.
Okay, so you train your watchtower to notice, my chest is tight, my breathing is shallow. But instead of panicking about it, you just observe it like a scientist.
Exactly. You teach the rational brain to stay online and remind the emotional brain that these are just physical sensations, not a life or death threat.
Right. But I have to push back a little bit on traditional advice here, though.
Go for it.
Society always tells us to, just talk it out when we're stressed. Like, tell me how you're feeling. But based on the mechanics you just explained, if the watchtower is entirely offline during a panic state, isn't talking kind of useless?
It is worse than useless. It can actually be counterproductive.
Wait, really?
Yes, the source material emphasizes this heavily. You cannot talk a smoke detector out of going off.
That makes sense.
The rational brain is fundamentally impotent against an overwhelmed emotional brain. This is why traditional talk therapy sometimes hits a brick wall for severe stress reactions.
Right, because the control room is locked.
Exactly. If someone is entirely hijacked by their amygdala, asking them to rationally explain their feelings is like asking someone to solve a complex algebra equation while a bear is actively chasing them.
The bridge is totally out, so we need a backdoor into the nervous system.
Which brings us to the secret weapon, bottom-up regulation.
Bottom up, okay.
This approach bypasses the rational brain entirely and goes straight to the body. It involves recalibrating the autonomic nervous system.
And what does that system do?
Your autonomic nervous system is essentially the body's internal accelerator and brake pedal. We access this deep unconscious system through physical, visceral actions.
Like what kind of actions?
Movement, touch, and most importantly, breathing.
Wait, you're telling me that when my brain is convinced I'm in mortal danger, just breathing out slowly is going to fix it?
It sounds crazy, I know.
Yeah, that sounds almost too simple to actually work against a full-blown panic attack.
I totally understand the skepticism, but the biological mechanism behind it is profound. Breathing is the one bodily function that sits perfectly on the border between the conscious and the unconscious mind.
Okay, I'm listening.
You breathe automatically all day long, obviously, but you can also consciously choose to alter your breath at any given moment.
Right.
When you inhale, you mechanically stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, which is your body's accelerator. It speeds up your heart rate to deliver oxygen.
And when you exhale?
When you exhale, you stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's brake.
The brake, got it.
The physical action of a long, slow exhale pulls on the vagus nerve, which runs from your diaphragm all the way up to your brain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. By consciously extending your out-breath, making your exhale twice as long as your inhale, you are manually pressing the body's brake pedal.
So you're sending a physical, biological signal up to the brain that says, we are safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are forcing the smoke detector to quiet down from the bottom up.
Let me tie this to a real-world scenario so we can really picture it.
Sure.
Say you were sitting in a stressful board meeting, and your heart is pounding because of a tense confrontation. Your smoke detector is blaring.
Right.
You shouldn't try to frantically mentally rationalize your way out of it. You should literally just focus on making your exhales twice as long as your inhales, right there in your chair.
Yes, exactly.
You manually pump the brakes until the smoke detector shuts off.
Yeah.
And then the watchtower comes back online so you can actually think clearly again.
You have to change the physiology first. You cannot engage the mind until you have calmed the body.
That is so powerful. But what decides whether we hit the gas or the brakes in the first place? Like, why do we sometimes fight, sometimes run, and sometimes just completely shut down and freeze?
That's a great question. The source material explains this through a hierarchy of safety. It shows that there are 3 physiological states the body cycles through when faced with a threat.
Okay, what are they?
It's incredibly helpful to view these states as a ladder. When we feel threatened, we start at the top of the ladder. Level 1 is social engagement.
Social engagement.
Yeah. We are mammals, and our very first instinct when we are scared is to look for safety in the pack. We rely on the muscles in our face and throat. We call out for help. We look for a comforting facial expression. We listen for a soothing pitch in someone's voice.
How we look for other people.
Right. We rely on our social connections to regulate our nervous system and help us feel safe.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, think of a toddler waking up from a nightmare.
Oh, great example.
Right. They don't try to fight the monster or run out the front door. Their first instinct is to cry out for their parents. The ultimate safety is another human being.
Beautifully put. But if no one comes to our aid, or if the threat is just too immediate and dangerous, we drop down a rung on the ladder to level 2.
And what's level 2?
This is fight or flight. The more primitive mammalian brain takes over. We hit that physiological accelerator we just talked about.
So the heart races, the muscles tense.
Exactly. And we prepare to either physically fight off the attacker or run away as fast as we possibly can.
But what if you can't do either? What if you are physically trapped in a car accident, or, you're a child and the threat is an adult you cannot possibly fight or outrun?
That brings us to level 3, the absolute bottom of the ladder. Freeze or collapse.
Freeze or collapse.
If we are held down or trapped, the oldest part of our brain, the reptilian brain, takes over. It slams on the extreme physiological brake.
Oh, wow. So it's not the accelerator anymore.
Yeah. No, it's a massive brake. The heart rate plummets, breathing becomes incredibly shallow, and the person completely zones out, disassociates, or collapses.
Totally shuts down.
Yes. It is an extreme survival mechanism designed to conserve energy and numb pain when death or severe injury seems inevitable. The body is essentially playing dead.
It's like when a computer processor gets utterly overwhelmed by too many demanding background processes, right? To prevent the physical hardware from literally overheating and melting, the system intentionally locks up.
Exactly. It freezes to save itself.
But this brings up a massive challenge. If someone is in that level 3 state, totally frozen, numbed out, completely disconnected from their body, how do you reboot the system without crashing the hardware?
This is where we have to be incredibly careful about how we treat trauma or severe panic, because what you definitely cannot do is yell at them or demand that they snap out of it.
Because that's just more danger.
Yes. Yelling is just another threat. It is just going to make them freeze harder. You cannot force a reboot.
So what do you do?
You have to safely, physically coax them back up the ladder. You have to bring them out of the freeze state, through the mobilization state and back up to level 1, social engagement.
There is a brilliant anecdote in the book about a man named Steve Gross who worked in the waiting room of a trauma clinic.
Yes, I love this story.
He would see these severely traumatized, angry, or completely frozen kids sitting there. And he didn't sit down with a clipboard and ask them to talk about their feelings. He knew their watchtowers were completely offline.
Right, talking would do nothing.
Instead, he would just playfully bounce a brightly colored beach ball toward them.
Just a simple beach ball.
Yeah. And at first, the child might just stare straight ahead and totally ignore it, but he would keep gently tossing it, and eventually, instinct takes over, and the kid gives it a half-hearted pushback.
Let's break down why that works. By just rolling a ball back and forth, he is speaking the primitive language of the nervous system.
Okay, how so?
That simple, rhythmic, back and forth physical movement, that physical reciprocity forces the body to register a safe social connection.
Oh, so it bypasses the fear centers entirely.
Exactly. And gently wakes up the social engagement system. It is a profound, visceral contradiction to the helplessness the person experienced during the trauma.
That is so amazing. You replace the terrifying feeling of being physically trapped with the physical feeling of safe, rhythmic connection.
Yes. And that bottom-up action brings the watchtower back online.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Let's distill these insights into the core takeaways.
Good idea.
First, your brain is a dynamic system. It's a constant balancing act between the cook making sense of the world, the smoke detector looking for danger, and the watchtower keeping everything in check.
Right.
When you experience severe stress, the cook gets overwhelmed and drops the pot, leaving you with raw sensory fragments that keep your smoke detector blaring.
And when you feel that alarm blaring, you must remember the biological reality. You cannot simply logic your way out of it. Your rational brain is temporarily unplugged. You have to use top-down techniques like mindful observation or bottom-up techniques like deep, extended exhales, physical movement, and safe social connection to manually reset the alarm.
This isn't just fascinating theory. This is literally the owner's manual for the human body.
It truly is.
The next time you feel your heart racing over a frustrating email, a traffic jam, or a minor disagreement, you now know the mechanism.
Yeah.
It is just your smoke detector malfunctioning. You aren't crazy. Your biology is just temporarily hijacked.
Exactly.
And you have the physical tools like pressing the brake pedal with your breath to bring your watchtower back online.
Because knowledge is most valuable when it is understood and applied. Recognizing these physical states for what they actually are, deep survival mechanisms, removes the shame from the equation.
It totally does.
It allows you to recognize, my body is trying to protect me, but the danger has passed, and then take the physical steps to regulate your nervous system.
Which leads me to a final, somewhat provocative thought for you to mull over.
Let's hear it.
We live in a modern world where we sit entirely motionless at desks all day long. We stare at glowing screens, we are increasingly isolated from our physical communities, and we communicate primarily through text, rather than listening to the soothing pitch of another human voice.
It's true.
If our brains rely on physical movement, deep breathing, and face-to-face social engagement to feel safe, if we absolutely require that bottom-up regulation to keep our internal alarms in check, is our modern lifestyle accidentally keeping our smoke detectors on a low-level overdrive all the time?
Wow, that's a huge question.
If your body keeps the score, what is your daily routine writing on your scorecard? Think about that the next time you smell a little bit of burnt sourdough in the kitchen.